The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Sometimes in this would you have two choices, laugh or cry. We prefer the former, and so does the main character here, as Amber and Scott discuss. Is this thing on? And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing tonight? We've got a good crowd here. Wait, hang on. No, we don't. I'm recording a podcast episode. Sorry. Please go on.
Well, that's actually a very appropriate opening, Scott, for our film today.
Heyo.
Good job. Alrighty, our film for this episode is This Thing On? As their marriage quietly unravels, Alex faces middle age and an impending divorce, seeking new purpose in the New York comedy scene, while Tess, his soon-to-be ex-wife, confronts the sacrifices she made for their family, forging them to navigate co-parenting, identity, and whether love can take a new form. So yes, we see a lot of comedy and stage scenes in this film.
Yeah, this film's going to be a problem.
Why is that?
Well, I think you know that I've had my eye on doing actual legit stand-up for a while. And now, because I am so impressionable, ridiculously impressionable with these movies, I've wanted to be a lot of things.
I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a pirate. I want to be a nuclear engineer. Well, you had an ex who was into stand-up comedy, didn't you?
I've dated a couple people who dabbled in stand-up comedy. I wouldn't full-on say they were comics. The people who went through a school and then a couple performances.
There's a school?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, there's absolutely
Oh,
schools
yeah, no, there is, because actually...
Yeah, you must say, you worked at a place that has a school.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Do they? Oh,
yeah. Matter of fact, I think one of them went to that.
Yeah, no, actually, the reason I was remembered not was because of that, because actually I looked into that for you for a gift once upon a time.
Oh, dear.
And I asked you if you would actually do it, and I think you said, maybe.
Yeah,
something
no.
like that.
Don't give me that gift. I'm just going to learn on my own.
Well,
I didn't say I'll be funny. I just said I'll learn on my own.
Yeah, okay. All right, so our main character, Alex, is ending a marriage that's 20 plus years, and
26 because it was a marathon.
Yeah, and he wants to go get a drink one night, and there's a $15 cover charge, and he realizes that if you are there for open night, Mike, you don't have to pay the cover charge. So he says, yeah, sure, yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, $15 or entertain us.
Yeah, so he goes up there, he hems and haws, he completely bombs, but he kind of likes the vibe of what this could be. So he starts coming back, and then actually getting pretty decent at it.
It's kind of addicting. When you talk and you entertain people and they laugh and they think you're funny, and I mean, even if you're not, hopefully there's just someone out there with a twisted sense of humor that will be able to get to you. And in his case, it was therapeutic, but
yeah, because he was talking about what was going on with his family and his life and his wife.
But here's the reality is, it's probably therapeutic for most comics, because some of the more miserable people in this world I know are comics.
Oh, yeah. My mom used to stick me in the trunk of her car instead of getting a babysitter. That you work through. It happened to you as a kid, and you turn that into material.
Yeah, it's a really healthy outlet to do it, I think. But yeah, people find a way to turn pain into laughter.
That's not a bad thing.
We salute you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a more constructive way to go than continuing to spiral downward.
Drinking.
Or, any negative behavior for
No,
sure.
in fairness, though, if they're in a comedy club, they're probably doing comedy and drinking, so.
Maybe, yeah. So this film, I actually really enjoyed this film.
Oh, yeah, no, this was a great film.
And it was interesting because you saw each of these people, Tess and Alex, going through this breakup and what life looks like as they navigate things on their own. And Tess ends up going back to a sport that she was once a player in, and now she's too old to be a player in it, so she looks into coaching. And Alex completely falls into something outside of his interest, his experience in the comedy, even though he's in the finance world.
It's interesting because here at Cinema IRL, we usually ask the question, what would you do? But I'm going to spin that question around a little bit for myself, and is, what have you done?
What do you mean?
I've been in his place.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was in a marriage for a long time that I thought was going to be good, but it ended up not being. And let me tell you, when you first...
You thought the marriage was going to be good?
Well, I did for a while, yeah.
I mean, I think everybody does.
I mean, we were... Well, I mean, even near the end when it was kind of unhappy, I mean, spoiler alert, at the end, it's unhappiness isn't always with your partner. It can just be unhappiness in general, but people will perceive it as like a personal affront on them. But no, let me tell you, one of the most surreal moments I'd had in a long time was the first time I stepped into my newly rented apartment right after we split. And when we split the first time, she used the word separation, and that would be the only time that word would come out of her mouth. After that, it was always divorce.
Well, I think you say separation to get someone out of the house, and then you bring in the heavy hitting words.
I mean, yeah, I mean...
I mean, I don't know, but that's what I would do. Is okay, if you bring in the heavy words, maybe you're not going to get what you want. So
we actually still continued to live in the same place for 2 months after that, but it was planning. So it's hard. It's hard to cope with that.
Oh, I bet. Well, everything that was familiar to you is completely gone.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I would go to the grocery store and I would put things in my cart that were not for me. I would not eat them. And I would have to come to the realization, oh, I don't need to buy this anymore. And it's depressing. But it's where you look for some form of an outlet, because that's the thing. Like, you can't just sit around and wallow. You have to find some form of an outlet. For me, it was kickball. I got really into kickball, and I mean, it was a fun social thing. Got me out there. I really enjoyed it, and it was the activity that probably kept me sane when that whole thing was going down.
And Alex wandered into this club because he wanted to drink. How did you wander into kickball?
You know, Craigslist.
Okay.
I saw something about it on Craigslist, and I don't remember. I think they were having open play night, which was essentially a recruitment drive before a season.
Okay.
And I was in Anaheim at the time, and I think it was just up in Buena Vista. Right, where's Knott's Berry Farm?
Yeah.
Yeah, Buena Vista.
Buena Park.
Buena Park. Buena Vista doesn't sound right. Yeah, Buena Park. And okay, well, that's just up the 5 a little bit, so let's go check it out. And it was fun. I felt not mopey. And when you're that, it is the hardest thing in the world to find shreds of happiness. I've joked in the past that if you want to know how good my relationship is, all you have to do is look at my stomach. If I'm happy, I have a big stomach. If I'm not so happy, it gets real thin because I'm really depressed. Or it might mean I just...
that's not a healthy metric at all.
Or at least it might mean that I recently got out of something. Yeah, almost every low I've had in weight has been coming out of a relationship.
Okay, I think maybe that's something to work on, because being... I don't know, that might not be the healthiest metric for your body. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But I mean, it's kind of the joke is that if you really want me to not eat, just break up with me and I'll just go.
You put on a couple pounds. I'm breaking up with you, and then you're going to come back all slim.
I've actually had multiple exes because I tend to not have horrible, ugly breakups. I've had multiple exes be okay, fine. If I come over and we just go grab a bite to eat, will you eat? Yeah. So, I mean, they still stayed my exes, but
Okay.
but I got food.
Okay. So your what would you do is what you have done, which sounds like it's the same as Alex, really. It's just kind of indulging something that created some degree of a spark.
Yeah, the only weird or the only different thing is that I don't have kids. And I didn't have kids. I even remember, funny enough, speaking of comedy clubs, after my first wife and we were split. I was living in the new apartment, and we'd actually been talking. I think at that point I had agreed to the divorce, so I wasn't an impediment anymore. And we got together. There was a comic in town who we both really liked, so we went to a comedy show, and we had an absolutely fantastic time. And if my memory is serving me right, we ended up going back to her place, and it felt foreign and just right all at the same time, because you also know this isn't us getting back together. This is, we had a good night. And that's where I think a lot of people can get confused.
Well, and that's what happened in the film to a different outcome. But Tess accidentally sees one of the routines that Alex has where he's talking about, oh, hey, I slept with someone different who wasn't my wife, and here's what happened, and here's what arguing with my wife was like, and blah, blah, blah. And she was just stopping in somewhere. She had no idea he was there.
She was on a now date with Peyton Manning.
Well, I mean, a networking thing for her to try and get into coaching.
It was networking at the front. I think by the end it turned into a date until the date involved her ex-husband.
So she hears all this information. She goes out, and they obviously have this huge conflict. And you slept with someone, and they're talking, and it ultimately ends with her thinking, okay, well, let's go back to your place. So that's kind of similar to what you're talking about with your ex. So what would you do if you were Tess, or Alex if you want, but if you were in the audience and you've heard your ex talking about how they had slept with someone? Well, you're not officially divorced, but you're not together.
I mean, here's the deal about marriage and stuff like that. That's legal. That's a legal contract, that there are rules on how you can and can't enter it or leave it.
I didn't expect you to leave with the legalities.
Well, my point is if you two say you're together, you're together. And if you two say you're not together, you're not together. And a piece of paper saying that I'm still with someone doesn't mean in my heart I really am. So at that point, they're split. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. Yeah, I guess it would depend on what exactly was being said. I probably would have actually felt good if I had been Tess listening to that set, because, oh, hey, I tried this other thing, and it just made me miss my wife.
Yeah. The one interesting thing, though, that came up later in the film while they're discussing that encounter that Alex had with another woman is Tess says, in a real honest moment, saying, I don't know, maybe I slept with you that night because I was jealous. And I can see that very easily happening of, oh, yeah, you've been with someone else, you're mine again, and kind of jumping into that with some sort of way to reconnect with that person.
Well, especially as competitive as she was in general.
Yeah, she was a former athlete.
Yeah, so she's like, oh no, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just kind of takes over.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing that we see throughout the film is they're growing in their own ways. Alex is doing the comedy thing on the side, even though we never see him at his actual real job. And Tess...
Didn't he say he was finance or something?
Yeah, finance. And Tess has now gotten a coaching job, and she's actually going to be working on the Olympic volleyball team for 2028. And they're both experiencing different things and now kind of navigating this. I'm out of this relationship. What is this? Almost in we're kind of dating kind of a way. And it starts off with Alex picking her up from a meeting. It's only 47 minutes. I don't mind picking you up. Whereas those are things that happen when you're dating someone. Oh, I'll drive 47 minutes. I'm happy to pick you up. Whereas if you're married, they're like, do I really have, that's so far away.
You know what? If I can reach into my own past, I had a situation where I knew my soon-to-be ex-wife was working a lot. She was, right, and she had shifts that made it difficult for her to really kind of get out and keep the fridge filled. So I went out, and I remember I bought, it was north of $200 worth of groceries.
That's a lot.
And
I mean, nowadays it's three things, but back in the day it was a lot.
Oh, I see you've got a little comic in you too.
I do.
Except it's maybe true. But yeah, so I basically bought $200-ish worth of groceries. I put them right by her front door. And I then kind of hung out by a pool area because it's the place where we lived before I moved out. So I knew the place. I hung out by the pool area in a way that she wouldn't see me, just because I wanted to make sure that nothing screwed with the grocery. Someone didn't decide to come grab them. This was before delivery services like this were overly common. And as soon as I saw that she was there, I slipped out. I didn't say anything. And yeah. Yes. Sometimes you get that nostalgia feeling towards dating and you want to do something that's a grand gesture, but I didn't do it to try to get her back. And that's kind of the weird thing. I had kind of come to terms at that point that, okay, yeah, my marriage is over. But you sometimes can get, for lack of a better term, addicted to being that somebody for someone. And when you split, you can lose a lot of meaning in your life.
Well, it goes to identity, and that was actually in our description for this film, where they navigate co-parenting, identity, and whether love can take a new form, is when you are someone who has a role in someone's life or a role in your life, that does become part of your identity. I'm a dad, I'm a mom, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. And it's not just about your professional career. It's also very much your personal. So all of a sudden, it's like parents who, heaven forbid, lose a child. And their identity has been, I'm a mom, but no, I don't have a kid. And identity is strong.
Yeah, and I could even strongly relate with Tess. Mm-hmm. Because, as you know, I used to run a card shop. And it was what I did for many years. And I think losing that is part of what caused me to lose my marriage. Because I lost a huge piece of my identity, and that's not exactly something that's going to cheer you up. I even remember like a year and a half or so after I had left it, I came back to say hi to some people because I still knew a ton of people. And I was walking around, and one of my friends who was still an employee there said, "Dude, it sounds like you're talking about an old girlfriend." And well, he's right. I mean, you get that thing that becomes so a part of you. So I understand with Tess in the volleyball that she had really lost that part. And then when she lost her husband, it was part of getting that back to help her remind herself who she is on some level.
Yeah, when she retired from playing volleyball, she thought, okay, well, I'm just going to fill all that up with being a wife and a mom. And those are very important roles.
You'll feel,
but you can't. The difference is that volleyball was for her. It was her thing. It was the thing that lit her up. It was something uniquely part of her identity. And to say, well, I'm just going to drop it and add extra burden to the other things that are already part of my identity, being a wife and a mom, and be okay, well, I'm going to divide up that percentage and spread it across the other things, and it'll all equal out. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah, no, it doesn't at all. You can get those other things. Even when I picked up kickball, it didn't fill the entire void. It filled a very large chunk of it, but I didn't feel the entire thing. And you often will find that it doesn't for a while. Eventually that void just kind of starts shrinking on its own. So then you do feel more fulfilled, but it takes a long time. But yeah, with Tess, she had stopped. Presumably quite some time ago, had stopped coaching or being in the sport, and then
She had retired from playing.
Yeah, and
now her only way back into the sport was really to look at coaching.
Yeah, and then when she lost her husband, that's...
Well, I don't think she lost him. I think she relocated him.
Well, yes, but you know what I mean. You lose these two things that were two of the biggest parts of your life, and you just start to ask yourself, who am I? It's really a internal crisis that you start to go through.
But the transition in that didn't have that crisis feel, because she had something to be, okay, back in the before volleyball was my thing. Volleyball was my thing. So given the fact that time has passed and I don't have those physical capabilities, how can I be a part of that? Now, here's the thing, is she found, okay, I'll go to coaching, and then she actually got recognized, and then she got put on the team for the Olympics. But sometimes you go back to something and it's changed, or you've changed.
So I remember going to some card shows a few years after I got out, and I was seeing the trend. We used to be the come to us, we'll get everything for you. You're going to pay a premium, but you're not going to have to go bouncing around to a bunch of places to do that. And the industry made a shift, and it became more about volume than anything. And I remember looking at it going, oh, hell no. Hell no, I'm not returning to this. This is horrible.
Yeah, sometimes you can't go home again.
Sometimes you can't. But yeah, when you have these two massive voids all of a sudden, that's when you really are starting to, you're probably not just going to go find something new that's going to fill that. You need to figure out something there and something big. So for her, being able to get back into the volleyball was a way of making her more complete again.
Yeah, and the thing with Alex in finding that other thing was he didn't tell anybody. This was and that was an interesting thing in and of itself, because it's almost like he stumbled into something, whereas we had Tess who returned to something that she knew was important to her. But Alex fell into something, and it was almost like this secret thing that I have that excites me and lights me up, and I'm gonna go and do this, and that was interesting.
You could tell it was very cathartic for him.
Yeah.
To get up there on stage, like that microphone was a therapist.
Yeah.
And where he could just get stuff out.
Yeah.
Because you're repressed. So you're probably not going to go telling a whole bunch of people about it when, you don't generally invite people into your therapy meetings.
And he probably wasn't going to go to his friend group and saying, hey, I slept with somebody new.
Yeah.
But you can say that to a room full of 100 strangers.
Yeah. No, I am sure he enjoyed it, but when you're that, and you could tell there was so many times that he was just miserable, and you could tell he just had that look in his eyes, what am I going to do now? And you get lost. And when you can get 3 minutes on stage to do that, be able to get it out, people are laughing and cheering for you, and it makes you feel really, really good. And then you become addicted to that hit of wanting it. And
performers do love, it's even people who are big in movies, they say they'll go back and they'll do a play or something like that because they love that live experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, live entertainment, there's not much quite like it.
So my last thing that I will throw out there for what would you do is Alex has this picture blown up into this massive picture that he hangs in his bachelor apartment, and it's of Tess when she was playing volleyball, and she is jumping up to spike it over the net with all the power and everything with her. So we see the shot of Tess from behind. Her legs are up, and she's about ready to just spike that ball with all the force to win. And he does this, and he talks to his boys about it. This is your mom, and this is what she used to do, and isn't she impressive and powerful? And Tess finds out about this, and she is angry.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. When I first saw it, I'm like, creepy. Like you just split up from your wife, and then you go and get this huge picture blown up and put on your wall. Like, felt creepy.
It did feel a little strange. I think when you have kids in the mix, that's a little bit different, because also, too, behind the scenes, we see that Tess, actually, she has, I don't know if it's anxiety or panic attacks, but we see her in moments of private where she's, okay, I'm okay, and she's breathing heavy, or she's taking a moment to sit. So even though she was this powerhouse out on the court, she also seems to have some insecurities and stressors that are along for the ride. But in the case of this picture, she's angry. And I thought that was interesting because they didn't specify all the reasons, but I was looking at it as, okay, is she angry because her face... Oh, before I go there. She was, why isn't that a smiling picture of me and our two boys? Obviously, such a different vibe. If you were to hang a picture of your family, that's lovely. But if you were to hang a picture of someone you love just doing what they love and crushing it, that's a way different thing.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes former glory should mostly remain former. I mean, again, if I can dig a little bit into my past, I was once God, am I about to admit this on the show? I used to be a world-ranked Pokemon card game player. Actually, I was a world-ranked Magic player as well, but not as high and not as well known as I was in Pokemon. And I had my 15 minutes there where I was a big name, and people coming up to you, handing you cards. I mean, can you sign this? Can you sign this? That's a hit. That is a massive hit right there. And I try not to think about it too much these days because it was something that made me feel so good that I know I will never feel again. Now, I can feel it in other ways, but I'll never feel it in that way. Tess will never be the person out there spiking the ball at this point. So it can be a little depressing to have that constant reminder of here's who you were, feel like you're somebody else now.
And I think that's a deeply personal experience because you might be really proud of what you achieved and you want people to know who you are. I know I once had a boss who was a former Olympian in swimming, and she put that everywhere. She wanted everyone to know what her capabilities were. So I can see it both ways. Either one, celebrating, heck yeah, I was crushing it. I did this thing and wow, I was really great at it. Or on the other hand, being very bittersweet of, wow, okay, well, the best is behind me, or I'm not capable of that anymore, or I had to leave that behind, or I got pushed out, or that's something I'm not capable of anymore. So it could be very different.
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly not a one size fits all. Some people will be able to hang on to that and live that and be happy about it. And again, there's other ones who will be like, because you ask yourself sometimes, was this my peak?
Yeah.
Was this the top?
Has it all been downhill since then?
Has it all been downhill since then? And
yeah. It
can feel depressing because people don't like to come to terms with that. So I get it. I mean, I'm in the middle, but I probably wouldn't want a giant picture. I mean, I've even had a couple of pictures of me and Pokemon circulating on Facebook recently, and I look at it, and first of all, who the hell is that guy? He had hair. But yeah, I was somebody. I was. I mean, not to everyone, but to the small crowd, I was someone. And now, not so much.
There is this. I think it's a photo that I've seen in the past, and it really hit home for me for many reasons. But it's an elderly woman, and she's looking in the mirror. And, she has wrinkles and gray hair, and she's looking in the mirror and she sees a younger version of herself. And I can't recall all the nuances here, but it's tied into the fact of when people are in assisted living homes and nursing homes, and their caregivers and doctors just see this old, frail, deteriorating person, and not realizing that everyone had lives and successes and identities prior to who they are in that moment. Maybe they were a ballerina. Maybe they were someone who wrote poetry. And that's one thing I think about when I think about this picture, is somewhere along the way, people just start seeing who we are today. And there's another saying that I really, and don't judge me by the chapter you walked in on. And although slightly different, it also goes back to identity, is who are we meeting today, and what is your backstory, and what are your successes. And the thing with the picture that, I don't know, maybe was also an objection for Tess, is that it was from behind. And even though it was because that was just happened to be where the picture was taken, but I also felt that was a disconnect with who she was, because you couldn't see her face.
Yeah. And Balls, I like this. There's this character named Balls. Why can't you just get it from the other side? Which obviously you can't, except honestly.
For AI now.
AI, you probably could give me that picture. I want the picture from the front.
Yeah.
Now, you might need to give them a little more reference for things like a face. But
yeah, of course.
But yeah. So yeah, you could if you wanted to.
Anything else?
Is this thing on? Okay, it's going to go
We
off now.
hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.